What if I told you it was possible to gain over 2 million subscribers and over 300 million views on your content by just telling your story? Would you believe it's possible? Well, Reesa Teesa has shown us that it is possible with her viral series, Who the F Did I Marry?, where she chronicles meeting, marrying, and then divorcing her now ex-husband, who she claims is a pathological liar. But what we want to know at the Cypress Room is, how is she monetizing this content? Did she make any money? Is this success replicable? And where does she go from here? We're going to talk about all this and more in today's episode, so just keep watching.
Welcome back to the Cypress Room, where we dive deep on influencing with integrity. This is a podcast for creators, influencers, entrepreneurs, and dreamers. I am Christina Mascari.
And I am Meggie Honeycutt. And today, we're talking about the Reesa Teesa phenomenon.
Hi, and welcome. We all know why you're here.
Reesa Teesa.
Yep.
Who knew? That was not a word in our lexicon 2 weeks ago, and here we are.
Yes.
And everybody knows her name.
Very true. So I don't know where you've been, but if you've been on TikTok in the last week since Valentine's Day, there is no doubt in my mind that you have seen some form or another of Reesa Teesa content coming across your For You page.
I'm going to tell the story of how I met, dated, married, and divorced a real pathological liar.
And it is really astonishing just the virility of this series. Keep in mind, this series is 52 videos long, all 9 to 10 minute videos, 520 minutes of content that she has released over the course of, she released it over, I believe, 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, in the last week and a half, she has amassed over 3 million followers.
Yeah.
Over 200 million views.
Mm-hmm.
My feed is covered with reaction videos, with videos breaking it down. And so that's what we're going to do today, except we're going to do it in the Cypress Room Podcast style. And hear me here. We're not going to dive deep into the story or the characters or
if it's true, if it's not true.
If it's not. No.
Who these people are, the people who've come out after the series. That's not what we're talking about today.
No, that's not what we're talking about today. Today, what we want to talk about is what this series going viral, what does that mean for TikTok? What does it tell us about how the content that people are consuming is changing in the year 2024? I think there's so much that we can glean from this. I want to know if she's made money from this, how she's going to monetize it. Is she going to be able to go forward and have continued success? Because let's be honest, we talked about the Bama Rush girls back in August, asked the same question. And in my opinion, none of them have been able to continue the success of what happened during Bama Rush.
Right.
So
I have some ideas for Reesa Teesa, though. So I hope, I don't know, there's so much content about her out. She probably won't see this, but I have some ideas about how you can capitalize on what made you so successful and move forward. And I think we have some case studies for it. So stick around to the end, because that's what I'm going to share those thoughts.
I mean, really, there is so much that we could break down. So let's just go ahead.
Let's jump in.
And jump into it.
Well, first of all, I have to give a disclaimer that I didn't know any of this was going on. Meggie is the one that told me about it. Actually, no, I had not. It did not come across my TikTok feed. Maybe I've been taking a couple of days off of TikTok, but nothing, not reaction, nothing, not one of her videos, nothing, which is shocking because I am on TikTok a lot. And, you know, they fed me Alex Earl back in the day. That's how I knew about her. I wasn't out searching for that type of content. So you sent me, I think, some reactions and you were like, have you heard about Reesa Teesa? Then I did a search on YouTube, and the amount of content that is already out on her. And she created the series on Valentine's Day is when she started. Like, there are so many videos, and there are so many videos that have crazy amounts of views. So like, everybody's talking about this, but I have to be honest with y'all. And I was one of those people in a hole, and I didn't know about it until Meggie sent it to me and said, I want to do a podcast on this. And I'm like, okay, this means I have to binge this content. So I binged the entire series yesterday. And hot tip, if you want to watch the whole series before you jump in and join us for this podcast, which it would probably give you a lot more context, I listened to it in double speed.
Yes.
So to watch TikTok in double speed, you just tap the TikTok and then playback speed will pop up. You hit that, you hit double time. She talks very slowly. you can watch it all in double time. So I spent like 240 minutes instead of 580 minutes with her yesterday.
Yes,
But it still took me a long time to get through.
I too watched it in double time and over the course of 2 or 3 days. But it has really taken the world of TikTok by storm. And now she has been featured on NBC News, USA Today. All of the major news outlets have a piece out, the HuffPost, and everyone's talking about it because really this series has kind of defied everything that we've been told about short form video being most popular. Nobody has an attention span anymore. Get your hook and be quick. You know, all of those things were kind of turned upside down with the success of this podcast. And so that's kind of what we want to talk about today. So the first item that we're going to go into is the art of storytelling.
Here is part 1 of Who the F Did I Marry?
Who the F did I marry? Tell us.
It's so funny when who the F did I marry?
I know I can understand. So it feels very uncomfortable to say, and I'm going to have to bleep out probably a lot of these video clips we're playing.
Part 21, Who the F Did I Marry? Part 41, Who the F Did I Marry? Part 17, Who the F Did I Marry?
But what does this Reesa Teesa series tell us about the art of storytelling? And to me, it's, first of all, as you've seen when we were playing these clips, at the top of her screen, every single screen, every 52 parts, she puts the title, Who the F Did I Marry? And I think it immediately catches your attention.
I mean, she came up with a great hook, but she's carried it throughout the whole, and you're like, well, we want to know.
Yes, we want to know.
We want to know.
And she does all the great things that a good storyteller does. She's very descriptive, gives lots of details. She develops her characters. Every single one of her 52 parts has a beginning, a middle, and an end that kind of leaves you hanging, wanting to watch or listen to the next part because you want to know what happens. And she did that so well, and it really seemed like it came natural to her.
Yeah, but as you're talking about it, she mentions a lot how she started doing like an audio diary. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like she had a audio transcript of what she wanted to say. So I wonder if she took like each individual journal entry that she had and then turned it into a video, because she never seemed to mess up. She never was like, oh, wait, I forgot to tell you something. I have to go back. So as organic and like lo-fi as it seemed, I wonder how much planning went into each video. Like if she had like an outline written out, because she just never seemed to squirrel and wander off, in my opinion.
Really didn't.
But maybe she's that good of a storyteller that she didn't have to.
Yes, I
hope we get more behind the scenes one day.
Yeah.
About how she actually created the videos, because I think it has to be more calculated than just sitting in her car and creating it. She had to have something before she hit record.
Well, I do know in one of her like very end after the fact videos, she talks about she really did record it to be listened to as an audiobook.
Yeah.
The series Who the F Did I Marry is not something that you have to sit down and hold your phone and watch. I did it the way I did it, so that way you actually can listen to it as an audiobook, chapter by chapter, in order.
Yeah.
Which tells me,
which makes sense,
that she really had some forethought into how it was delivered and distributed to the public. I think.
Do you think she knew how many chapters it was going to be and had like a title for like each chapter, like because each one was definitely organized of like, okay, this is about just hunting for this specific house. This one was about her miscarriage. This one was about like uncovering where he worked from. This one, like they all were very organized in how it was thought out.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be so interesting to hear, because I think there probably was a lot more thought that went into it than we even realized.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great too. At the very beginning, before she even gets into the story, she does a disclaimer, an introduction video where she really pulls at the viewer's heartstrings. It tries to gain their trust by saying, like, I'm going to be 100% honest. even if it makes me look bad.
First and foremost, I'm going to be truthful, even if it makes me look bad. I'm going to be honest, but I'm also not going to be disrespectful to anyone that was involved.
So immediately the viewer is like, oh, okay. Okay. I'm in. Like, I can trust you. Like, blindly trust. But not to mention, it is a pretty wild story. The content is great, but what I think this tells us is that delivery matters. Like, how you deliver the story does matter.
But there is a level of drama involved. Like, could I just get on and tell the story about how I go and pick my kids up from school every day? That's probably not going to have the same level of virality.
But I think
I don't know.
Somebody could get on there with a very similar story. And if it's not delivered in a way that really captures the audience's attention and keeps them wanting more, then it probably wouldn't have the same amount of success.
And whenever she would share those like random facts, or like, why do I need to know that? She's like, remember this for later. And she wouldn't pick up on it until like 2 videos later or 3 videos later. Now remember, and she would recap. Now remember when I told you blah, 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 blah. Well, this is where it comes into place.
That'll come into play later on.
It's kind of like, you know, that true crime thing that's so popular with everybody. She figured out how to like weave that in, like weave in little clues that you need to be listening for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many reaction videos of people with their notebooks and they're like listening and like writing
I
it
haven't
down.
even got to watch any of those yet because I was like catching up. So I feel like I totally missed something for sure and was just like cramming it all in. But I already, even before this morning while I was getting ready, I was like, I want to watch a couple of reaction things. There was a guy like in England doing a recap on it. I mean, it is a worldwide phenomenon. It's crazy.
So the next thing is, what does this tell us about lo-fi content? Do aesthetics matter as much as we think they do?
I mean, I think it depends. But like just seeing how fast she's gone off, and you know, she would show up in her hair in rollers with no makeup on, getting ready for bed, having her bonnet on to go to bed,
driving in her car,
driving in her car, or just sit it like, you know, it didn't look like I have to be made up for these shots, and it made it feel more like you were hanging out with her at her house, like at a sleepover or a women's get together, girls' night out, and you do just feel like you're talking to your friend. So I think it depends on what type of content you're putting out there. I don't know. I've always been the type of person that I show up on my stories like without makeup on when I'm working out in the garage, and I feel like that's more relatable. I don't know. Like, would people want to watch lo-fi content tutorials like I do? I'm not sure.
No. I definitely think that there's a time and place, and honestly, I think TikTok is the platform of lo-fi content where it will do well.
Yeah.
I don't even know if lo-fi content would do as great on Instagram, because I feel like that's more really aspirational
and aesthetic.
And
that's a good point.
TikTok, I think it was perfect for TikTok, but I don't know if it would translate to other platforms as well and go as viral. But I mean, it was bad lighting, like she was just filming wherever, whenever, and you know, there's something to be said for that. Like, it didn't matter. None of that mattered, and she still went viral. So I think on TikTok, it's less important than we think, maybe.
Yeah.
If it's just you telling a story or talking. So I thought that was very interesting that lo-fi content would do so well, and that she just showed up as she is. Just her real raw self.
I don't have time to show up with makeup every day. When we do these podcasts, I have time to put makeup on, and I always put lashes on for these podcasts. But as we were even setting up the camera, I'm like, oh, does this look right? Da, da, da. And she goes, you know what? It doesn't matter because we're talking about Reesa Teesa. We'll just have lo-fi content.
Lo-fi
At the end of the day, it's like, like when you guys turn this on and you're watching the podcast with us, you're probably not watching every second of us talking. And like when I was listening to Reesa Teesa, I was listening to it like an audiobook, like while I was cleaning up the dishes, and I put our new podcast sticker up last night, and I was listening to it while I was putting our new logo up on the wall. So I think that's why sometimes lo-fi content could make sense on TikTok, especially if it's a long format video, because you're not necessarily watching it, you're just listening to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're telling me TikTok and lo-fi content that we're listening to like an audiobook? Is TikTok becoming a long form video platform?
I don't know. I think TikTok just likes to be whatever it is at the moment, which is what is really smart about TikTok, because when TikTok first started out, it was just people dancing and lip syncing. Like, that is the origin of TikTok. It used to be like a lip dub thing where people would just sing songs and they would dance. And now it's evolved into where it is. So I think it's just like the next stage for TikTok, because it's always been like the young, fresh thing, like no rules, doesn't want to seem stuffy. And so it seems like a natural progression for it, just to go with what's popular. And so I think you're going to see a lot of copycats coming up now that this has taken off.
This is the part that blows my mind, is like, for the last year, we're being told like long form video is out, it's out, like, and then we see something like this go viral, and on TikTok, no less. Kind of blows my mind, because I was trying to think to myself, what other type of video would make sense on TikTok as like a long format?
I don't know. They're trying all sorts of things. They are encouraging content creators to put landscape video up now, so you can like tap on it and actually turn your phone sideways, which TikTok has never been about that. And they are giving the people who post those landscape videos right now, they are boosting those videos. I posted one 3 weeks ago. So it was like, because it popped up in my feed like, hey, if you post a landscape video, we will boost it. So I did. And they pushed it to so many people like super, super quick. But people watched it for 3 seconds. So I'm like, okay, but what did I get from it? I think I got a few followers. So they will just try anything to see if it works, which I kind of like that about them. But at the same time, while this is very cool and she has all these followers now and she has opportunities to monetize it, I don't know like how sustainable it is to like become a creator in this way. And in terms of like what brands are looking for, brands are still looking for that vertical short form content that looks like a commercial that people are going to watch the majority of it and that they can push out to people because they want to sell things. I mean, I know we like to try to pretend that these social media platforms exist to connect us and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like, these social media platforms want to make money, and the brands that are on them want to make money and want to sell their products.
Yeah.
And so you need to just like remember that. But I think that you are seeing so much content that is ad based, like TikTok Shop. It's just people selling stuff all day long. That is probably why this broke out of the noise, because it was different and it was real, and she wasn't trying to sell you anything.
Yes.
You know?
That's a very good point. And I really appreciated this playlist feature, because you know how normally you watch a TikTok.
Yes,
and
that's
it'll
so
just
true.
replay and replay and replay.
Yes.
So you swipe, and this you could really, when she utilized the playlist feature, so it would just go one after the other.
And when I would leave the app, like to take a break, I could come back and it would tell me the last one that I watched. So that's like a key takeaway for me if I ever do something that like it is a series, to have a playlist for it.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder how long until TikTok starts introducing ads into, if they're going to allow the 10-minute videos, are they going to put in ads the way YouTube does and try
that's a really good point. And make money.
Make money
the way Twitter has.
Ad revenue.
Like, I could see people doing, similar content to this that people are going to watch and binge, like the Reesa Teesa thing, and having shows on there. If you can see that playlist features. But they're definitely going to have to teach people how to do that, because people are just used to getting on TikTok and scroll and not sit there for a 10-minute video. So it'll be interesting to see if it changes like the culture.
And
of
if
TikTok.
this playlist feature and these longer form videos take flight, like with other types of content than just like a talking head video, like will people start throwing up all their old furniture flipping videos and create playlists, or even longer podcast clips, and that can be formed into a playlist, much like we do on YouTube? I think it'll be really interesting.
It's really interesting
to see. Okay, so what does this tell us about engaging an audience? What is Reesa Teesa? How did she get this audience so engaged? So first of all, the reason that I put this is because I thought it was so smart of her that she must have filmed these all and then kind of released them in huge batches so that people could binge, rather than
Oh.
maybe one at a time over one a day for a long period of time.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that was a big part of getting the audience hooked, because we
I wonder how
love
much of a
to
strategy
binge.
that was, though. Has she done interviews yet? Have you watched any interviews
I
that
have
she's
not
done?
seen her do any interviews.
We're gonna have
yet.
to maybe do a follow-up episode on this, because now I'm like very intrigued at the aftermath of
Yes, because you really do wonder how much
planned was it? Because everybody like talks about how I don't think Reesa Teesa is a plant. Like everybody talked about that Bobby Altoff, how she was like an industry plant.
Yeah,
I definitely don't think
she
Reesa
was a
Teesa is a plant, but it just I don't know. She talks a lot about her faith throughout this thing and talks about like, oh, well, Holy Spirit told me not to do that and I did it anyways, which I thought was interesting because we get negative comments about when we say stuff like that. And for her to go so viral and her say stuff like that, I'm like, okay, well, everybody's allowed to, be vulnerable and share their truth and whatever. I found that really interesting. But like maybe this was just kind of like a download from God that he told her how to put it all out. I would just be really intrigued to see how this all came about because it's insane.
And I don't know if we'd be talking about it if she had done like a video here, a video the next day. People would have lost interest. Like we are a society that loves to binge content now. Netflix, when they drop a show, they drop the whole season, all the episodes, because we don't like delayed gratification.
Because
that's probably a whole nother subject matter.
And you might not know the answer to this, and maybe we can just like pull it up on our phones. But were these the first videos she ever uploaded?
No, they were not. She had a few videos before, just like kind of rants about certain things. Like she would just comment on different things. But
do you know how many views those had?
It was like not very many views, I don't think.
I wonder what it was about, her first video.
So what happened was, if you look through her feed, she had one video where she was like, something my lying ex-husband did to me. And I think it was based off a trend she had seen. And that got so many views. And she just kind of did like an overarching, like mention one or two things that he had lied about.
Oh, things that my pathologically lying ex-husband lied about.
And it did really well. And so what people are saying is like, oh, wow, she saw, people want to know more.
She was like, I have this whole story. I could do 52 parts.
She was like,
let's
girl,
do it.
Here I go.
But like, that's the thing that is so fascinating to me because this has never been done before. Where did this idea drop in her head that I should do this and put it out here, and then seeing the success of it? Like, I know it wasn't her plan, but I just want to know. I want to know so bad, like, what made her do this?
I know. And
it's wild.
I hope it's like God just redeeming the whole experience for her. That was like so negative. That's my hope.
Okay.
But I think too, the way she engaged an audience is she was pretty vulnerable about dumb decisions she made. Parts where she was like, I know you'll never believe that I would say yes to this or do this. And she talks about how she just wanted that ideal, like she wanted to be rescued. To be her turn.
I still sometimes ask myself, how the did you let this happen? How did you let this be your story? Because at the time, I wanted it to be my turn.
Yes, she wanted it to be her turn. That was like so sweet. And she was saying like, and I can look back now and realize like I was forcing it. And that there were all these signs, and like I really and she again went back to her faith and said, you guys may not understand this, but I know God watches out for me, and I can see several times where she even said like, my tire blew out on my way to his first date, and I was so stubborn. I'm like, no, I'm still gonna go. So it's just like little things like that. Like if you don't believe in God, like if you just believe in the universe sending you signs or whatever, it's like pay attention to that. She's like, pay attention to your gut. And like we said we're not going to discuss if this is a real story or not, and receipts and this and that. We've all had moments like that where all these signs can be pointing one way, but we just still go this one way because our heart is so set on like true love or whatever that thing is. And you got to remember, the story took place during COVID and how isolated we were and how removed we were from everybody. And you couldn't meet family. So it wasn't like odd to not be meeting family in person. So, you know, it's like everybody's like, how could this happen? How could you let it happen to you? But when you're in it, sometimes you don't see those things because you want to believe like the fairy tale type of thing.
And
So
I think that's like how the audience was so engaged, because we could see parts of ourselves. We could relate to that. We remember what it was like during COVID and being isolated. And I remember what it was like being a single woman and wanting that relationship and that family so bad, and how it can cloud your judgment because you want something to happen so badly, you'll almost do anything to make it happen. So I thought she did a fantastic job of engaging her audience and being very relatable. But not only that, she had a sense of humor. She had so much attention to detail. She had funny anecdotes and sayings like the United Nations of red flags.
The United Nations of red flags.
She was able...
I called it the United Nations of red flags. It is so many red flags that, I mean, you would have thought I was colorblind because I ignored all of them.
Red flags.
She was able, in retrospect, to be a little sarcastic, be kind of funny, and joke about a story that probably, when she was living it, was not funny at all.
And was able to point out like what she was really bad at, which I think is any good part of storytelling. Like, you can't just be the hero of your story. You have to be human and have flaws yourself. My favorite thing that she talked about was during COVID, how she had to go into the office because she would fall asleep during the day.
So they made her come in.
I was like, there's nothing more relatable in this day. She's like, I'm not going to lie. I just was like sleeping and not working.
I loved that. She talked about a work from home life was not for her.
It was not for her. Oh my gosh.
So funny.
That's so funny.
Okay, so did she make any money, and how is she going to be able to monetize this going forward?
I don't know. Do you know the answer to that?
I do know the answer to this. There were so many reaction videos trying to calculate and estimate
I'm going to my next page of notes
what
here.
she might have made off of this, and she did a response video herself.
The stories about the amount of money that I've made on TikTok with this whole Who the I Marry series is wildly inaccurate.
See, I haven't got to watch any of her lives. I know she started doing lives too.
She has not made pretty much any money from it, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because the reasoning she gave, and we're going to play this clip.
So when I started the series, I was not yet in the creator fund. I didn't get approved for it until like midway into the series, right? So all the videos I did beforehand weren't even counted for the creator fund. And then it's only counted based off of the eligible views. So if you do the math, it's not that much.
She didn't even get accepted into the creator fund until after episode 40, first of all. And then she got kicked out or on suspension in the TikTok creator fund because she, for some reason, had to re-upload some videos, and that violates their terms and conditions. So she's currently on a 30-day suspension. So she is earning no money.
Here's the kicker. Guess who got suspended out of the creator fund?
Just hurts my heart. If somebody would have told her right away to just put them up on YouTube.
My exact thoughts.
And you know what? So many people have taken her content and have put it in playlists at double time on YouTube, and it has 600,000 views. And I don't know if she's going to be able to go after those people for the money that they've made.
Honestly, that
it's wild. Breaks my heart.
I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
She would have only put it up on YouTube, even as a vertical video.
Just as soon as it started taking off.
Yes.
If she would have just had it in both places.
Yes. Oh.
Like, even she could do it now, because I think people would want to support her.
Yeah.
Like, even if
I hope she does.
I know, just puts it all together in one thing, like up on YouTube. Like that. Because I feel like they would push it more if it was like her profile and all that. But yeah, it does break my heart. But it's also like TikTok hasn't really probably earned any money off of her series. I know it's popular and people are talking about it and it brings them awareness. But has her series brought in TikTok money? Probably not, which is just like the weird thing, because they're not running ads during it. If it was on YouTube, they'd be running ads, and that's how it creates ad revenue. So yeah, it's very interesting.
And it's also a learning moment for anyone out there.
Yeah.
Because who wants to go this viral
I know.
if it's not going to be monetized in some way or another. And certainly, I think she's probably learned her lesson and is now going forward doing things to try and monetize this. But to me, does it even matter if you go viral if you're not?
But I don't know. I could see her getting a Super Bowl commercial next year. I could see somebody doing something so funny around this whole thing. Or just do it. I mean, it doesn't have to be a Super Bowl commercial. It could be a commercial now. And you can get paid really well for making a commercial. And like I just hope that she has people around her. I'm sure since she's so big, she's had agents and stuff reach out for her. And I just hope she has people that she can trust to like look over contracts and figure this out for her moving forward.
Yeah, because there is a lot of buzz too about them making it into either a television show or a movie, like a Lifetime movie.
Okay, so I know I said I was going to share about this at the end, but I don't want to forget. So can I tell you like my idea of how I think she can make this keep going forward? So does everybody remember, and it's kind of very similar, does everybody remember the documentary that came out called Catfish?
Yeah.
Where this NYU film student fell in love with this girl on Facebook, and it turned out to be some random girl living somewhere else using someone else's pictures. And him and his friends documented the whole thing, and it turned into this viral, sensational documentary. And then what happened is because that documentary was so successful, I don't know if they pitched a show to MTV or MTV pitched a show to them, but they created a whole show called Catfish where they would investigate these different places of people pretending to be someone else. You think you're dating someone, you're not dating them. So what if Reesa Teesa can come up with her own series where she interviews people called Who the F Did I Marry?
Yeah.
And she gets to recap their story and tell their story for them, since she's such a good storyteller. Like she just takes people's stories and then she gets to share and does these whole part series that are bingeable, follows her same formula. Like she's already got a formula, but she needs more stories.
Yeah.
So she just needs to like widen her community and see if like she can get these crazy stories to come in about who the F did I marry. That's my idea.
I love that idea. And do you know there's a girl on TikTok who does that? She lives in Appalachia in like the mountains of Kentucky.
Okay.
And she runs this series called Small Town Gossip. And she has a thick Southern accent. And she is a great storyteller. And people DM her their small town gossip stories. And she tells them, and she's like, y'all are never gonna believe this. And just tells the story of the small town gossip.
As a Southern woman from a small town, I love small town gossip, and you all will not believe what I've heard.
No.
She's very popular too, so I think that is such a good idea for her.
Yeah.
Reesa Teesa, if you're watching.
Reesa Teesa. We'll be your consultants. Let us know. I just hope that she has good people around her.
I know,
when
because
people get big this fast, just like bad things can happen. And she's already had a lot of hard stuff. So I just pray that God will put some good people in her path and
really,
take care of
because
her.
she's got some big brands up in her comments.
Who'd you see?
I saw BMW, Delta, Marriott, Hilton, Smashbox, Marshalls. Like those.
What were they saying? Was it kind of similar to like the Bama Rush, like we just love you so much, or was it like we want to give you a car?
BMW supposedly said they're giving her a car.
No way.
Yes, and Delta, Marriott, Hilton were all commenting about sending her to her London and Paris trip.
London and Paris trip. So, and if you guys haven't watched, like she talks about this London and Paris trip that he supposedly was going to send her on. She really wanted a house too. She talked about the BMW a lot. So maybe somebody is going to come in with a house. I don't know who that would be. Maybe a mortgage company will come in and just give her a house.
For real.
Well, I mean, even if she doesn't end up getting paid, a BMW, a house, a trip to London, that would probably make up for the series.
Yeah. I mean, certainly the opportunities are there for her to monetize in one way or another.
Oh my gosh.
So
and I haven't watched any of the follow-up content, any of the lives she's done. So I might be interested to go watch that.
Yeah, she answers people's like specific questions and stuff out of the story. So I really haven't watched but just a couple minutes here and there of some of those lives.
Oh, and well, maybe this is going to help her find like her person.
I know. That's what I hope. I hope she finds her person and that it's nothing but blessings from her. So
cool.
Well, what can we learn just to summarize here I think we can learn.
Maggie put a lot of effort into
Guys,
this,
I was-
y'all. She
Yeah.
went all in,
I did.
and she got me in.
I did.
You're a good salesperson.
Good. She was a difficult sell on this one. We're not going to lie.
But I did binge the whole thing. It is possible to binge it in one day.
Yeah.
Which says a lot.
Yeah.
It says a lot. Because I don't watch Netflix and things like that, guys. I'm not a huge binger. So it was. But I do like documentaries. So that's probably why that pulled me in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've learned from her. Everybody's got a story, and maybe you should tell it.
And you can start from zero.
And you got to tell it in a way that compels viewers and draws them in and makes them want to keep watching. So your story matters. And the things that you think people might not be interested in, they might be interested in it. So
But like here's the thing. She was putting out stuff and she saw something. Oh, people liked hearing about this crazy ex-husband thing. What can I do with it? So it's just kind of like watching, first of all, being brave enough to put stuff out there and then
Yes.
seeing what does well and be
See
like,
what
how
does
can I play with it? How can I tweak it? So Yeah.
And it might not mean a 52-part series for you.
Yeah. not many people want to become a viral sensation. That's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure, but I think it does speak to the importance of telling your story.
Yeah.
And that
But she didn't, I don't think she took any courses. I don't think she was doing trainings and figuring out how to do her lighting and her camera. So it is like an encouragement that you can just start right
Yeah.
where you're at. What we're always preaching on here.
Yeah. But we did learn the way you tell your story matters. Probably, I mean, you
Yeah.
need to have those good elements of the story. You got to have that beginning, the middle, the end.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have some characters. You got to have some
Yeah.
conflict in there.
Mm-hmm.
So it is important how you tell it, because I think
Mhm.
somebody could have told the same story in a different way and maybe it wouldn't have been viral the way.
You got to be
This was
self-aware. I think she's very self-aware. And if you can't just be the hero of your story, you got to have some
Yeah.
self-awareness about your flaws and your shortcomings and things, because
Yes.
that's the number one way to connect with people and be vulnerable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think we learned to trust our gut.
Trust your
Reesa
gut.
Teesa.
Yep. Trust your gut.
you
I mean,
gotta
we have
trust your
all
gut.
we have all been there. So there
Yes,
is no
we
shame. There is no
Mhm.
condemnation. Yeah. So just stop and be like,
Yeah, those gut checks, man.
Mhm.
You gotta. There's something to them.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This story made me so glad that I don't have to date anymore, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real. Oh man.
It's rough out there in those streets.
And I think the last thing we can learn from her is that if you do have some form of longer form content, maybe that TikTok playlist feature is something to explore and
Yeah, if you-
experiment with.
Yeah. If you've got a story to tell.
If you have a story to tell, or even if, like I say, you have old content like in a playlist on YouTube, why not just throw it up on
Yeah, TikTok
TikTok.
is a place to play. Like I just had something go viral on TikTok, and I can't even remember what year that was. Do you remember 2021 maybe? Or is it? I think. Anyways, it went viral, and I've never really fostered a community over there. I just use it to repost stuff, and I've had great opportunities to do brand partnerships on there where they boost. Like the first time I ever worked with Walmart was on there, and Shark, like big brands, because they want to be on TikTok. But my TikTok is not really successful. I don't see a lot of growth over there. I had that one big push, and I mostly just repost stuff over there. So it is a place where I feel comfortable just like playing.
Yeah.
And it's like, doesn't have to be in my niche, doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to make sense. It's a really good place to just explore, because you never know. I could have a story like Reesa Teesa and just tell a story that has nothing to do with furniture painting, and maybe I would have BMW and Delta and people, you never know.
You really don't.
You really
And
don't.
TikTok is the perfect place to experiment.
Yeah. If you have, I can do that because I have stuff other places. So I'm just saying, like, if TikTok isn't a place where you already have community and you have like a lot of money or, effort wrapped up into it, it's a great place to just play and experiment with these new things, because they keep changing stuff,
They
and
really
they're trying to
do.
push long format. They're starting to do this horizontal stuff. So like, why not just try and see
Yeah,
what
why
sticks
not?
if something sticks? It's
Well,
inspiring.
Yeah, it is
The American
inspiring.
dream. We live in such a crazy world. Like sometimes I'm
Yes.
like, what in the world?
And I don't know if this can be replicated, but I just think
No, but it's so fun.
it's the most fascinating case study to
Yeah.
me in like how quickly it went viral.
Mhm.
And also like I mean, are we going to even hear anything about it in a week or two? That's what I want.
Yeah.
Like, it's so, the cycle of social media and the virility of these videos, it's such a fast cycle.
Right.
I'm eager to see if she is able to continue it and keep it going. And if we're still talking about Reesa Teesa a month from now, or if it's completely disappeared and there's something else that's
I hope
viral,
she figures it out. And she seems to be pretty witty and funny and just a good storyteller. So I hope she figures out what the next thing for her is and just like sticks with it, because, you know, hey, Reesa Teesa, I'm one of those people that I would have fallen asleep at home to on my computer.
Yeah.
And I'm a content creator now, so this might be the thing that works for you. Just being able to be creative and do that storytelling. And, you know, if you have this story, I bet you know a lot of people that have interesting stories too. So I wish you the best, Reesa Teesa.
Yes, we wish
What
you all
is
the
her
best.
real name? Do we know?
I don't
Yeah.
think anyone
I think she made a mistake and said her real name at one point.
did.
She said like Shirley something.
Oh, I missed that.
I had caught
I
it.
didn't think that it had been revealed.
Oh, wait, I
Maybe
have like one more thing that I want to talk about that's so
yeah.
random, because she referred to, we kept calling it my ex-husband, my fiance, my boyfriend. She's like, I'm just going to make it easy for y'all, and I'm going to call him
Oh, yes.
what I call
Oh, my
him.
gosh.
And so her nickname, which she has merch for too,
Yes.
is Legion.
Going forward, I'm going to now call my ex-husband, I'm going to use the name that I call him in real life. So that way it clears up the whole fiance, boyfriend, husband, ex-husband thing. So his name is Legion.
And for all y'all who might not be Bible readers, I'm going to tell you where that Legion name comes from. Okay? Because we talk about here, like I read the Bible, I'm a follower of Jesus. There is a story in the Bible, and it's during the time when Jesus is alive. There is a man who is possessed by demons. He's probably the like most out of control, crazy, possessed person you see in the Bible.
Yeah.
Would you say yes? And Jesus actually heals him and casts that demon out of him into pigs, and these pigs go drown themselves. This sounds really crazy if you've never read the Bible before, but Jesus like asks this guy like what he's talking to the demons that are in the sky, and he's like, what's your name? And they say Legion, because there's like many of us or something like that. And so I just need you to know how deep this goes.
Yeah.
And I need you to remember that there is a person on the other side of the story that I know he did some bad stuff, but my heart goes out to him as well, because we are all just broken people walking around in a broken world trying to get through it. Did he do awful things? Yeah. How did he get to that point?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm the only person that's thinking that, but knowing that she put that name like Legion on him, I'm like, oh, that's dark.
Yeah.
So I wanted to save that to deep into the podcast. That's just like an extra little something that maybe you want to go look about that. But I do hope like with this story coming out and with it being out in the light that maybe like he gets some healing or she gets some extra level of healing, because we're all just like doing the best that we can, and we all have some bad role models in our life. We have some good role models in our life. We've had some terrible stuff happen to us. We have some good stuff happen to us. So I hope that, you know, I don't ever really think there's like a villain in a story, because we're all just carrying around our own crap and we're all doing the best that we can. So I don't know.
I hope there's some
redemption. Yeah. So we'll see.
both sides.
If it goes completely out of the main cycle news, the fun thing is that I think we'll always be able to find little tidbits and stories and things.
Yeah.
Although from all the things I have seen coming out, I think Legion has come forward. He doesn't seem very apologetic. So that's not a good look for him. But I still wish you the best,
Yikes.
sir. And I wish the best for, you know, everybody in this situation. I hope that there's some healing. So
Yes.
sidetrack, but you know.
Yeah. It was fun to talk about and explore.
Yes.
But yeah, so let's talk about our favorite things.
Favorite thing.
I know you and Reesa Teesa have a similar favorite thing.
We do. I think one of the first things that caught me about this is in the first video, she's wearing her heatless roller. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the heatless roller that I got for my daughter for Christmas. My daughter has gorgeous hair, y'all. It is thick and healthy, never been colored. She doesn't, you know, put heat to it a lot. And I got her this roller because it's so long. She does dance and I have to put it in a bun. And I got her the heatless roller that it's just like this little coil. You wrap your hair around it. You put 2 little scrunchies on the bottom. Reesa Teesa's wearing it in her first probably like 4 or 5 videos, I think. And it's heatless curling, and it looks so pretty. It stays like all day, and it gives my 11-year-old daughter a way to style her hair without having to do hot tools and spend a lot of time working on her hair in the morning, but it looks really cute and put together. And so her and Reesa Teesa, it's on, I get the Kitsch one, and it's on Amazon. And I think I got it for like $13 or something. So if you have daughters, or if you, it doesn't really work for my hair because my hair is like really thin and short, and it just doesn't, I've tried it. It doesn't work for me. But if you have long hair.
My daughter wants to try that.
Yeah.
So we might have to do that.
So I like that a lot. So inspired by Reesa Teesa.
Yeah. And I actually have the same favorite thing as Reesa Teesa too, and that's a silk bonnet. So I started wearing one, and my daughter too, because she's kind of a wild sleeper, and she'd wake up with the tangliest hair.
And she has curly, coarser hair.
She has wavy, like coarser hair. And so I got her silk bonnet, and she actually loves it because she did not like the silk pillowcase. Like
she would slide around on it.
Yeah, the feeling of it. But the silk bonnet has helped her hair so much, and she is so tender-headed. Man, like brushing out tangles with her was.
And when she comes spends the night over here, she wears it. She's not embarrassed about it.
No,
I'm like,
she
all
isn't.
right.
She
so
loves
Reesa
it.
Teesa, maybe you're encouraging other women to just wear their bonnet and wear it proud.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's made a big difference in her hair. So yeah, that's my favorite thing.
Perfect. Well, friend, I know I was giving you a little hard time about this, but this was fun. It's just fun to just see all the different ways that we can connect with people out in the world. Like social media is just wild. And so it's just fun to take these little case studies and take a little deep dive into them. So
I think so too.
yeah, let us know.
Me.
Have you watched Reesa Teesa? Let us know down in the comments. What are your opinions, thoughts, feelings? This is going to be a free for all in the comments. So just let us know. And if you haven't watched it, go look on YouTube and see if she has her own playlist on YouTube, and go watch it there and try to get her some money. Yes. Hopefully by the time we get this up, she has a YouTube channel. I don't know.
I hope so. Well, we'll be back with another podcast for you soon, and we'll see you next time in Cypress Room.